All right, what's up, everybody? Today, another special guest. We're just on a roll. This is number 3 in a row. This one is my superstar client, Kem, who has managed to lose over 90 pounds. And with me, she's been able to lose 20, and she's continuing to burn the body fat, build lean muscle at the same time because she is Miss Consistency. I got to tell you, she is like the most on point person I've ever worked with. And I thought, what better than to bring her on and give you guys all some tips so that you can get started or continue on your fitness journey. So, Kem, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very welcome. Very welcome. So, let's talk a little bit about, before we go into what you did exactly, let's talk about like how you grew up. Cause I know a lot of times people are like, oh, well, these people, they probably grew up with like very healthy
Oh,
homes around food
no,
and stuff like that. So let's
no.
let's give the people a little bit of your backstory.
Well, my mom was married and divorced 5 times by the time I was 18. So we moved a lot. I couldn't even tell you how many different schools I went to. And I try to sit and think of like something that my mom cooked that was my favorite thing to eat. And there's like nothing other than her Christmas divinity candy that she made. Yeah, it was just like she'd make stewed tomatoes, which was just bread
Mhm.
crumpled up in tomatoes. It was so gross. I was probably 10, 11, 12 before I would even eat a green bean,
Hmm.
and that's like one of my staples now. I
Okay.
wish, and I wasn't, and it's probably a bad thing. Like I wasn't like exposed to like carrots and broccoli and celery and all the good stuff. And I still won't eat a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you don't learn as a kid, it's like, why would you, right?
yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay. And now, when would you say your like journey to get healthier and like get yourself in a better place physically? When do you think that started around?
March of 2021. But it
All right.
wasn't the best way because I thought that I needed to eat less than 1,000 calories a day to
Mhm.
lose weight. So I would drink literally 2 glucerna shakes a day. And then my husband at the time would smoke me chicken, like a whole pack of chicken, and I would have smoked chicken at night.
Huh.
That was my meals.
Smoked chicken sounds like a big upgrade from bread and sauce.
Yes, yes. And it was really, really good. Not that it wasn't good, but I didn't, I mean, and I lost 40 pounds, but then it's not sustainable. Once you start eating
Yeah.
regular food, you start putting the weight back on.
Yeah.
So,
And out of that 40 that you initially lost, how much would you say came back on?
I was started at 253 and I made it down to 213 and I was probably back up to like 225.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was still, but there was no exercise included in that. It
Mhm.
was just diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
'Cause
then
I know.
in November of last year, I joined a local women's gym. And that is when my leg really started bothering me because they were doing stuff for all the women, including 20 plus. And I knew my leg was an issue, but it got so bad after that I lasted 1 month and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, unfortunately, it is like a lot of people don't realize that when you do get started with exercise, sometimes it does bring out certain things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
But
Like I can't do jumping jacks. I still can't
yeah,
do jumping jacks. So yeah.
yeah. And you're not alone, because that's like one of the big things that I know when
Yeah.
I've been training people over the age of 40 for going on like 7, 8 years now. And it's always the jumping that gets people. And it's
Yeah.
like, in more cases than not, it's like an uneducated trainer, but sometimes it's just a lazy group trainer that's like, I just got to get them to sweat somehow. And it's like, there's
Yeah.
so many better ways.
And I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going before work. And yeah, it just 1 month and I lasted the month, but yeah, I couldn't do any more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're definitely not in the minority there, because I mean, you have a very similar story to many people I've talked to, where it's like you do everything that you think you're supposed to be doing, and for some reason it just doesn't work the way that you want it to work. And a lot of
Right.
people get left in this like limbo as far as fitness and nutrition.
Yep.
Yeah. So when do you think you started making those changes that were more sustainable? Like what were you exposed to, or like what did you see that was like, oh, I should try that method?
Well, my husband passed away from COVID in January. And
Hmm.
then I got to talking with my daughter, and she's the one that really got me started with the macros and tracking my macros and counting my calories by grams instead of trying to just like wing it. And
Hmm.
that's when I started meal prepping. And so I only cook like twice a week.
Hmm.
So, and then like on the night before, I'll make my food for work the next day. So I'm not having to get up and think about what I'm going to eat today. It's already done, except for
Hmm.
supper. And then it's already ready. I just have to go home and put it together. And I've come up with a lot of cool recipes. Like I make a chicken chili, which is just, it's black beans, corn, rotel tomatoes, chicken, and a little bit of chili seasoning and cumin, and that's it. And I can just make a single serving of it, and it's so good. I don't need the
Nice.
chips. I haven't. I don't know when is the last time I had fried food. And like before I go to a restaurant, I'll Google what they have before I go to see what I'm going to eat.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's been, and the ladies I work with, they'll say, "Oh, that's just too much," and I was like, "It's not though, because it's working for me." And even I had my knee replacement on May the 18th. So I couldn't, from May 18th until beginning of July, right before I started with you, I couldn't do any exercise.
Hmm.
But I would literally walk 15 minutes a day. I was at my daughter's house and I would walk around her dining room table for, I'd set alarm clock and walk for 15 minutes just to make sure I was getting some kind of exercise.
Hmm.
But, since my knee surgery, I've lost 27 pounds.
Yeah. Well, now that
So
that knee's good to go, it's like there's
yeah,
nothing holding you back, right?
no, no, nothing.
Awesome. Awesome.
I
Now
wish I
let's,
could run. I can't run, but I don't,
uh-huh.
I know, I realize I don't need to run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because everybody seems to think that running is like the key to fat loss, right?
No, no, it's not. Diet
Yeah.
is the key to fat loss.
Amen. Now, let's talk a little bit about that transition because I know that you were off to a really good start with your daughter and like going with the macro route and like
Yeah.
doing all that. What was the transitionary point or like what was the reason that you reached out and said, "Hey, I want to crank this up a notch and get a coach?"
Because I didn't know what exercises to do, because I mean, you see all the stuff on TikTok and on Facebook and on Instagram, but I didn't know what I needed to do to make me better.
Hmm.
Um, and now like it's funny because I like have a thigh gap. I've never had a thigh gap. I've always had fat legs. I've always had a big butt. My girls tell me I don't have a butt anymore. But, I asked my daughter the other day, I said, am I too, because I'm 54, am I
Mhm.
too old to wear leggings? She's like, do you feel comfortable in them? I was like, yeah. She's like, then do whatever the hell you want to do. So I do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I gotta say, you definitely have an asset that not so many people are very lucky to have, which is you have a very supportive family. Like that
Yes.
is like
Yes.
a complete game changer.
Yes. And
Awesome.
like I said, and like, I mean, I have Sarah, my daughter Sarah is going to school to be a physical therapist assistant. So like even after my knee surgery and I was done with physical therapy, she got to looking at my leg and she's like, it's not bending like it was. So I had went back a little bit on how far it would had I was able to bend it. But now I'm actually, since I'm doing a little bit of squats and stuff, it's
Mhm.
getting, I think I'm getting more range of motion out of it, which what the doctors always say, it could take a year, it could take a year. I'm not a patient person. I
Yeah.
want it to be better. Just like I told you, I have that, it's called a patella clunk. It's a
Mhm.
spot above my knee where it's probably scar tissue, but I don't want him, his first thing was, well, I can go in and shave that off, but I don't want more surgeries. I want to be able, so I'm just trying to work it and just trying to get it to loosen up, hopefully, without having to have another surgery.
Yeah. And another thing that the surgeons and the doctors are really good about doing is like putting it in perspective. Like I know from training people that are like ready to go with like a knee replacement and stuff like that for every like, I think it's every 5 pounds lost, it's like 20 pounds off of your knee or something
Yeah.
like that. So, I mean, weight loss and strengthening can take you a pretty long way.
The surgeon's like, we're going to have to get a new picture of you because you don't look like the picture. Because I had my first knee surgery in 2014. They went
Oh,
in and
okay.
cleaned them both out. So that's 8 years ago. And I don't look the same as I did 8 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
So
definitely. I mean, with what you've accomplished in that timeline, it's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it definitely didn't happen in a couple of months, right? Like we see
No,
on these promotions and everything.
no, no. That's like, it's funny because they'll say, I hear on the radio all the time, go to this fat loss clinic like in St. Louis, because I live close to St. Louis, and you can lose 40 pounds in 10 weeks. There's no way. There's no way that that's sustainable.
Yeah, we've got something similar like that in Jersey. There's like NJ diet or something. And I actually have a couple clients that did it. And they're like, they tried to get you to eat at less than 1,000 calories a day. They
Yeah.
discouraged exercise. And you're just like, all right, this is like a setup to like get really like big numbers and then leave people high and dry. Like
Yeah.
they're going to gain all of it back immediately.
Yes. Yeah. And I had our work for our insurance does blood work every year.
Hmm.
And my bad cholesterol was just a little high, but my good cholesterol was high enough that it like counteracted it. So I got a green all the way across. The health coach that comes in and talks to us every year didn't even recognize me. Because last year, I still weighed well over 200 pounds. So
Hmm.
it's like, okay.
He's like, whatever you're doing, it's working.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah. 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 Cause he
Yeah.
tried to sell me on these drops. Is it HGC drops or something like that?
I don't even know. I mean, there's something new every 6 months. They're trying to push some
Yeah.
bullshit that has
And
like
yeah.
one study that is funded by the company to show what it wants to show.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the ladies I work with a couple older ladies and they're like, the weight is just falling off of you. I said, but it's coming off and it's not falling off because I've hit a spot where I get kind of discouraged because it's
Yeah.
like up and down 1 or 2 pounds. And then I'll like talk to you and then I'll think maybe I need to go on maintenance. And then I lose those couple pounds and I don't
Yep.
go. So I'm just going to keep it up.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people in your situation that do like push through and like lose a lot of weight, all of a sudden hit that point. And then usually for most people, that results in gaining back 10 to 20% of what they lost. But because you're sticking with it and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to see it through,
Yeah.
keep pushing, it does eventually come off because as much as we would love for that scale to be a nice straight line down, that's
Yeah.
just
It's not.
not how it goes.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Now, that all being said, let's talk a little bit more about like actionable things that everybody listening right now could be like, oh, I could do that today. So, what do you think are like some of the key things that have helped you out when it comes to this weight loss journey, like simple habits that you do?
Meal prep.
Meal prep?
I have an Instapot. I cook a whole package of chicken. It takes 45 minutes and it's done. I put it in the fridge. And then like tonight when I get home, I will fix my food for tomorrow at work. So I cook one egg with um, probably, it's like one egg is like 50 grams and it's like 100 grams of egg whites.
Uh-huh.
And I tried turkey bacon. I don't like it. So I switched back to regular bacon. So I have like, it's 13 to 17 grams. It's 2 slices of regular bacon. I throw that in there and I just put it in the container. So my lunch is ready for tomorrow. My breakfast is ready for tomorrow. Sometimes I know sometimes it looks like I have a lot for breakfast, but I'll eat something before I go to work. And then about 9:30, 10 o'clock at work, I will eat my eggs. And because sometimes I don't get to go to lunch until like 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then by the time I get home from work a little after 5, I'm starving, but my food is already ready. I don't have to sit and think about what am I going to fix for dinner tonight. It's already ready. I usually, like yesterday, I put green beans in the crock pot, fresh green beans, and I cook them and now they're in there. So all I got to do is heat up my food. It's To me, that makes it more sustainable than having to try to decide what are you going to eat?
Yeah.
What are you going to, are you going to go to Taco Bell and get 2 tacos? Are you going to go, McDonald's and try to see if they have something grilled or a salad?
Yep.
I've even switched. I don't use ranch dressing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I use red wine vinaigrette because it only has 70 calories for 2 tablespoons versus 110, 120 calories for ranch. So, and it's just the small changes.
Yep, absolutely. And I love how you pointed out two things there. The one is it's actually a concept that when I had Daniel Rosenthal on, he was talking about eliminating as many decisions as possible. And it
Right.
seems like you've mastered that because
Yes.
there's no thought process. It's this is what I'm doing.
Right. And I may not put everything in the my fitness pal at night, but I have my scale in there. I have a notepad right beside it. And I
Mhm.
literally weigh everything, write it all down. So the next morning I just get up and I type it all in.
There you go.
And I'll
And
even
then,
slice up my fruit. I'll
uh-huh.
have a bowl of fruit too to take with me. So I have, unfortunately, like mangoes and kiwi and stuff is not really in season right now, but I have like strawberries and um, grapes and apples already in there, and I can just cut them up. I have been making my own applesauce
Mm.
versus buying applesauce, so I know how much sugar is in it, and it might be like 7 pounds, or no, it's not seven. It's about 5 pounds of apples with, and it only has a half a cup of regular sugar in it.
Oh,
Versus,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can just weigh it out in grams, and yeah,
And that's number two, which is the substitution, because
yeah,
I know we get caught up in like, oh, I got to eliminate this from my diet. I got to get
no,
rid of this in my diet. And it's like, we know that doesn't work either.
no,
Got to find those substitutes. I know my
right,
personal favorite is the reduced sugar ketchup, because the taste is very, very little like difference. And
yeah,
you're saving like it's 5 calories per like whatever the serving is, as opposed to 50.
yes,
And finding those substitutions is like that's where it becomes easier.
yes. I am going to try. I bought me some cottage cheese and I bought a food processor and I
Mhm.
mixed it up. So I am going to try making something that requires Greek yogurt, but I'm going to substitute the processed cottage cheese to see
Yes.
how it is. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to.
I'm very curious to see how that pans out,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people, their issue with cottage cheese is that texture with the chunks. But
Yeah,
if
but
you
it
can
doesn't have the
like,
chunks.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you can blend that finely and like get it nice and smooth, I could see that working. Like you might
And
be onto
I like
something.
cottage cheese. I do not like Greek yogurt. I have
Yeah.
tried Greek yogurt and others. I just can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I,
Yeah.
I love Greek yogurt, but my body doesn't like it. So if you can figure out this cottage cheese thing, because I'm the texture type that's
Yeah.
like, nope, can't do it. If you can make it nice and smooth, you might be onto something. I'm very pumped to see how it turns out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
Awesome. Now, we went over a lot, and I know everybody's got like a ton of tips that they've got to use now. Let's talk a little bit about the next step. Like, what are your plans? Because like we talk about all the time, this isn't just a one and done thing where it's like,
No,
oh, I lose the weight and then I'll go back to what I was doing. Like
no.
we're always setting that next goal. Now, let's see what is your next goal?
Um, and weight wise, or just what I want to.
Anything. Anything.
Um, I'm after that revenge body. I told you that.
Yep.
Um, I'm getting there. I think the ladies I work with says you don't have 10 more pounds to lose. I do. I think I do because I still, I mean, I'm 54 years old, but I still, I always said I have a baby, that baby pooch, and my
Mhm.
baby's 28. So it's not really a baby pooch anymore. It's just that I was fat. So yeah, that's what I'm just working to. When I went to buy clothes this last couple weeks ago, I wore a
Mhm.
size 8 in pants. I probably haven't worn a size 8 since I was 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
Even when I weighed what I weigh now, because I might like at my high school weight right now, I wore a size 10. I'm going to say a size 10 because I could probably wear a junior size, but I had a big butt and big hips, and I don't have that anymore. So I'm thinking maybe a size 6 will fit me next time I go for, because I literally had to buy a whole new wardrobe because I had 18s and 16s. And when it was funny, because when I was in 18s, I was thinking, man, if I could just get down to those 16s,
Mhm.
those would look so good. And then when I finally came back home, when we got the remodel done, none of my clothes fit. None. The 16s didn't fit. I think I had a couple 14s. They didn't fit. None of my
Mhm.
clothes fit. So literally, I have a whole new wardrobe.
That's pretty wild. That's the part they
Yes.
don't tell you about, is like
No.
that's investing in your fitness. Are
And
you
at the
willing to
beginning,
spend all that money on
yes,
new
yes.
clothes?
I bought at the beginning of spring. I bought large shorts because I
Mhm.
before I wore extra large. Now all of those are too big.
Uh-huh.
So next spring, if I keep it up, I will probably have to have a whole new wardrobe again.
Hey, fingers crossed, right?
Yes.
But I know there's no luck needed because you are, like I said, you
Yeah, I am
always do what you got to
determined.
do.
I am determined.
Yes, yes. The picture of determination right here.
Yes.
Now, I can see that happening even sooner than that because when it comes to like a timeline, I know that's like a big deal for a lot of people because they don't really have a good grasp on like how long this process actually takes. So, let's say somebody's listening in right now and they're like, I just want to lose like 20 pounds. Like if you were to tell yourself back then, like some advice, if you were like, oh, I just wanted to lose 20 pounds, what would you say to Kem in the past?
Um, Kim in the past probably wouldn't been able to do it.
Yeah.
Even 20 pounds was, it took a lot. Like I would go to the gym every morning and I would come home and try to go back to sleep. And there for a while, I was only getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. I've
Mhm.
learned that if I do my workouts later at night in the evening, I sleep better. And I don't know why, but I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night versus 3 to 4. Um, I don't think old Kim could have done it.
Yeah.
Kim, old Kim didn't have the mindset that this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally can see why. Now, how about when like the Kem that started her journey and was like doing her best, what would you change about that? Like if you were to like have a conversation with your past self?
I would eat more whole foods versus substituting, that glucerna shake. Cause I mean, I spent a lot of money on that stuff and it didn't work. I
Yeah.
mean, it worked, but it was never sustainable. I didn't realize it was not sustainable. Just because you lose weight doesn't mean if you go back to what you were doing before, that weight is never going to stay off. It's always going to come back.
Yeah, because that's the kicker, right? If your end plan
Yes.
is, oh, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing once I get to this point, it's like you're going to get back to where when you started.
Started. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, there's nothing more to add there. That was beautiful because
Yeah.
I was hoping that you'd go into that whole experience with like the shakes and everything because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are stuck on that carousel of like being
Right.
taken advantage of by these companies that are trying to convince you that their way is the way. And
Yeah.
if you don't spend hundreds of dollars a month taking their supplements, eating their pre-packed foods, then you're not going to have any success.
No. I take vitamins every day, but it started with the COVID regimen vitamins.
Hmm.
And now like I've added like omega-3 because when I went before I had my surgery, I had an abnormal heart EKG.
Hmm.
So just so I can be healthy for my children, um, I continue to take those vitamins. It's not like it's a big deal or anything. It's just I take a bunch
Hmm.
of vitamins first thing in the morning and I'm good to go for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Hey, I mean that, like you said with the meal prep, it's like bing, bang, boom, do it, get it
Yeah.
down, done.
Yeah. And like
Awesome.
everybody, I know a lot of people say, well, you got to take the carbs out. You have to have carbs. You have to have energy. You have to have some fats. Um,
Can you say that a little louder for the people in the back? Because
yeah. People
carbs
just
are
don't
like
get
that.
it.
Carbs are like the redheaded stepchild. Everybody wants to
I
forget
know.
about them and not pay attention, but it's like carbs are the joy in life and they lead to incredible workouts, right?
Yes. Yes. But you have to you can't have like a half a sleeve of Oreo cookies. That's not the what you need. I
Yeah.
mean, I made Oreo balls yesterday because it was my daughter's boyfriend's birthday's coming up and he's never had an Oreo ball. I don't know if
I,
you've ever had
I've
one.
never had them. I might have to take a trip to go see you to try these Oreo
Oh
balls.
my God. You just take Oreos, you grind them up, you add a whole packet thing of cream cheese to
Uh-huh.
them, and you make little balls and you dip them in chocolate.
Wow.
That's
And
it. He
anybody
tried one.
listening, this is not a fat loss recipe. This is like
No.
when you're living life and you can have those
Yes. Yes.
indulgences here and there. This is that.
Well, Alex is the kind of person that has to eat 3 to 4,000 calories a day or he loses weight.
Oh, don't we hate those people?
Yes. Yes. And he knows that. And he gets, because Maggie doesn't always eat what she's supposed to, like she's supposed
Yeah.
to. And he gets on her, thankfully, because, you know, she's a school teacher and sometimes she doesn't have time to eat, but he gets on to her when she doesn't eat too.
Yeah. Hey, I get that. My girlfriend being a doctor, it's the same way. It's like, well, did you eat today?
She's like, no, I didn't have time.
No, I was like saving lives. Sorry. But it is tough. Everybody's got their
Yep.
schedule issues and stuff. It's all about,
Yep.
like you and me have talked about on our checkpoint calls. It's like we just got to figure out the limitations, and then that creates a box where we can have success. As long as we stay
Right.
within that box and we figure out what we can work with,
Yes.
that's really the key, right?
Right.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. And actually, over the past week, I've decorated my house for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
So I have 4 Christmas trees up in my house. And yeah, it just put me in such a good mood. Me and my daughter, and even Andrea is going to Branson with us this next week. I'm
Nice.
so excited. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. She's
And
been having a rough couple weeks. And
yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. And I know Andrea is lucky to have a friend like you because, like, I mean, that's one of the big underrated things when it comes to a fitness journey and a fat loss journey
Yeah.
is having a friend to like vent to and like talk things out with, because it's easy to get in your own head.
Yes.
And would you say that you had similar issues with that in the past where like you'd always like second guess yourself or like
Yes.
you're like, is
Yes.
this the right thing?
Yeah. And there's some stuff I didn't understand. And my daughter, Sarah, she understands a lot of that stuff.
Hmm.
And she was able to like, she's like, okay, just come up here and let me sit down, like macros. I didn't understand macros. And she explained it to me. And I was like, okay, okay, I can do that. So, you know, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not an easy, everybody